For some time, a security guard who works in a building in Ikoyi started to notice a very suspicious activity at an apartment at OSBORNE Tower, specifically apartment 7B. Now, he noticed that this apartment didn't have any visible tenants. Nobody was staying there. This apartment didn't also have any furniture as well. But he noticed that occasionally some people will come and visit this apartment, especially very late at night. And they usually come with bags, specifically the Ghana must go bags, including suitcases, sealed boxes, and after spending several hours inside the building, they leave quickly. And once they take those bags and boxes in, they don't bring them out again. Now, these visitors that occasionally visit this particular apartment at OSBORNE Tower, they come discreetly and they look like high-profile people. And one thing he also noticed is that they also come with security officers as well. Now, by early April 2017, a real estate agent who also lives around Ikoyi and is a regular visitor of the OSBORNE Tower, because he brings people who potentially want to buy that particular tower at Ikoyi to come and check it and inspect the property, was called aside one day by this particular security guard. The security guard informed this real estate agent that he suspects that there's a huge amount of money that is kept specifically at this apartment 7B in that building complex. In fact, he went to the extent of telling him that he has plans to rob the apartment building to steal some of this particular money he suspects to be in that particular apartment. And this gateman discovered that there is actually a particular woman who goes into this apartment, spends several hours, and sometimes comes out with a suitcase with her when she's leaving this particular apartment. Now, after this particular security guard informed this real estate agent about some of the suspicions he noticed at this particular apartment, the real estate agent also decided to do his own investigation and observation as well. And he also noticed some of these things the security officers noticed about this particular apartment. Specifically, people coming in late at night and bringing suitcases, spending hours inside the apartment and coming back and leaving quickly. And so when he discovered these particular occurrences with his own eyes as well, he reported his suspicion to the EFCC. When the EFCC got the report, they immediately launched a discreet investigation to verify his claim as well before they take any action to raid the apartment complex. They cross-checked their property ownership record, they monitored the apartment, they gathered intelligence on who is linked to the apartment, as well as whether there is cash at all in the apartment or not. Finally, after several months of investigating and observing the apartment through their agents, they decided to request for a court warrant to actually raid the apartment and investigate and find out what is actually kept inside this particular apartment. 12th of April 2017, after they got a tip-off by the whistleblower, the EFCC raided the apartment 7B at OSBORNE Tower. And when the EFCC operative reached the apartment, they found that the doors were locked, and they eventually forced the door open. And immediately the door was opened, they saw stacks upon stacks of cash bundled, wrapped and carefully arranged in different corners of the room. The entire place was actually quiet. There were no furnitures to represent that somebody was living there, and there were no personal belongings of anybody at all supposedly to have been living there. It was literally a cash storage vault. They saw several large Ghana must go bags stacked neatly against the wall. They were unzipped, and they found neatly wrapped bundles of US dollars, British pounds, and Nigerian naira notes. They also discovered that the cash was not loose. It was professionally packaged as if it was straight from the bank vault and counted by a bank official. In fact, probably counted by a banker. The serial numbers on some of the naira bundles notes indicate that the money has been minted very recently. After hours of counting using money counting machines, the EFCC confirmed that the amount hidden inside the apartment was about $60 million in total, counting the dollars, the naira, and the pounds together. The money was immediately seized and taken into the EFCC custody as evidence for their ongoing investigation. Even though during their particular raid, nobody was actually arrested. However, the security personnel as well as the estate management officers were actually questioned by the EFCC immediately after this particular raid. Now, initially, there were rumors that the apartment was linked to a former managing director of the NNPC. But she actually came out and denied that she has no link or nothing that attaches her to that particular apartment. But after further investigation by the EFCC and other further security agencies, it was alleged that the apartment complex was linked to Ikoyi Ventures Limited, a company linked to Folashade Oke, the wife of Ambassador Ayo Oke, who is incidentally at that time the Director General of the Nigerian Intelligence Agency, as alleged via the EFCC investigation. In fact, during this security agency's investigation, they discovered that this particular company, Ikoyi Ventures Limited, was even a shell company, meaning that a company that only exists on paper but does not have any ongoing business at all and has been registered for years. The company was allegedly being used to buy high-end properties in Lagos and used as a fund company to launder millions of dollars out of Nigeria, as alleged during the EFCC's investigation. Now, when the former National Intelligence Agency Director, Mr. Ayo Oke, found out about EFCC's raid of this particular apartment, he immediately went to the office of the president, the then president of Nigeria, Muhammadu Buhari, and informed him that the money was part of a covert fund approved by the former president, Goodluck Jonathan, for top secret security operations conducted by the National Intelligence Agency. Even though, of course, a lot of Nigerians did not believe the excuse is given. Not long after that, the president of Nigeria decided to set up a committee to actually investigate this matter, which was comprising of the vice president as well as some people who were to investigate this matter and find out the source of this money, as well as whether this money was supposed to be used for this particular top secret operation. And after their investigation and briefing, they decided to give a report and their recommendation to the president of Nigeria and tell them the source of this particular money and whether this money is intended to be used for a top security operation.
What our terms of reference were to find out, based on the facts that we had available to us and based on interview of witnesses, what transpired. We've concluded that and we've submitted a full report with recommendations to Mr. President.
And not long after the report was given to the president, the former National Intelligence Agency Director of Nigeria was dismissed from office. And due to his failure to answer the fraud charges filed against him by the EFCC, who raided that apartment, he was actually declared wanted by the Economic and Financial Crime Commission. Now, every attempt to actually arrest him was countered, according to reports, by a strong resistance from the NIA as well as the DSS. And a meeting was eventually set up by the National Assembly to curb the embarrassment the security agencies might have been given to the Nigeria security outlet in general. Although it was the primary suspect in this particular incident, there were allegations that he had some top government officials who worked with him to be able to successfully launder this money and keep them in an uncompleted complex building at Ikoyi. During their investigation, they discovered that these funds were allegedly approved during the Jonathan presidency administration, and the money was diverted from government allocations and laundered through real estate purchases. Before the former president of Nigeria actually dismissed the former NIA Director General, he was cleared of the allegation of corruption leveled against him. Now, what actually happened was that the NIA and the DSS decided to settle this matter out of court, including the EFCC, after the president came into the matter to prevent a lot of embarrassment, especially to the Nigerian security agencies. And so the matter was settled out of court and the money was forfeited to the Nigerian government and used for other purposes. A top source from the Nigerian government, he said that the fund was indeed approved by Jonathan for the agency in 2015 and the money was released for Boko Haram operations and the money was diverted for non-security use. That was why they ended up in a private residence. He also alleged that the funds were actually diverted for the 2015 election, but some smarter guys kept part of it for their own personal use, as alleged by himself. The funny thing that happened was, while that raid was going on that fateful day by the EFCC, immediately the former NIA director was informed of the particular raid that was currently going on at that Ikoyi OSBORNE Tower by the EFCC. He immediately called the EFCC chairman and informed him that there were some sensitive security documents in that particular building and that the EFCC should abort their mission of actually trying to investigate this particular building. However, he did not inform the former EFCC chairman himself that there were not just documents in these particular buildings, but stash upon stash of cash in dollars, in pounds, as well as in naira. And that was eventually what gave out the game and made the EFCC to proceed to actually investigate this particular crisis. Now, what do you think about the particular source of the money? Do you think that he actually stole the money, or do you think that the money was used for a covert operation? Let me hear your thoughts in the comments below. Make sure you like the video, make sure you subscribe to the channel. I'll see you in the next one.